home from work and get dinner on the table, and they think a woman should get permission from her husband to get birth control pills. And that happened 50 years ago, just like some of these things happen. Clearly the Republicans are out of touch. Surely we are going to react. We are not going to elect or re-elect a party that thinks like that. Please tell me no.
No!
Okay, another candidate that's going to help us move forward in Indiana is Glenda Ritz. Glenda is running for Superintendent of Public Instruction. Glenda received her bachelor's and master's from Ball State. Presently, she's a library media specialist, and Glenda is a mother as well as a grandmother. And I've heard Glenda speak a couple times, and I assure you that she knows more policy about public education than anyone I've ever met in my life. Glenda, would you come up and speak to us, please?
You're looking at the next Superintendent of Public Instruction. I'm a teacher of 33 years. I currently teach at Crooked Creek Elementary School, where I'm the media specialist, and I'm working 2 days and traveling 7. So even after a hard day's work at school, I'm on the road. I'm a National Board Certified teacher, and I want to talk to you a little bit about why I know so much about education policy. Because I'm a National Board Certified teacher, one of 155 in Indiana, I serve on the National Board of Directors for the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards, and have for 6 years. And so education policy and teacher quality are my passion. I got involved with legislative action and policy about 4 years ago when Tony Bennett came on the scene. It was necessary to have a voice down at the State House for teachers, and I spent quite a bit of time testifying before the State Board of Education, the Senate and House Education Committees, as well as working behind the scenes to make changes to Senate Bill 1 on teacher evaluation. So I've become quite versed in education policy. I have several master's degrees. I have 2 master's degrees in special education, general education, and library science. And with that, I have also taught at elementary, middle, and high school level. So I have a breadth of experience for K-12 education. I got into this race a little late, last April, when the state of Indiana decided to introduce I-Read 3, the pass-fail test for 3rd graders in the state of Indiana. That's when I drew the line in the sand, called up John Gregg, and said I'd like to interview to be a possible candidate for this position. I like to tell all audiences about the pass-fail model that we have going on so that you can go forth and tell others. In the state of Indiana, we have pass-fail I-STEP test. It's a very simple pass-fail test. Let's pretend that in grade 4, the cutoff level is 76. So a student who scores 76 passes, and the student who scores 75 fails, just as surely as the student who scored a 35. We do not know in Indiana, teachers do not know, the true level of performance of any students on that test. We just know whether they passed or they failed. On top of that, Tony Bennett has placed an artificial growth model. It's artificial because we don't have a growth model test. We don't know the true performance of our students. That artificial growth model is there for one purpose only. It's there to evaluate teachers, because you cannot connect teacher scores with the teacher unless you can show improvement by the students. This artificial growth model, and several have testified to this, is in violation, in my opinion and others, of Indiana Code. The Indiana Code says that every school will be placed in an improvement category based upon their own students' improvement in their own schools. However, that growth model that was placed on top of the pass-fail test actually takes student scores and compares them with peers around the state of Indiana. So the A to F grading model that's already been released to the schools and has not been released to the public yet, and We think that's really a political action in itself. Let's not release it until we have to, and perhaps not even until after the election, is going to have very high stakes. Because on top of that artificial growth model, he placed a bell curve. So we have so many students that are going to be in high growth, typical growth, and a guaranteed 25% low growth. No matter if your school district has 98% achievement on the pass-fail test. I've been going all around the state, and I have superintendents tell me, Glenda, we have students who actually answered every single question correctly, and they are listed in the low growth category. Because you need to think about that. How can you grow when you have a perfect score? It's a false, flawed system that he's going to use to evaluate the teachers. The teachers will receive a 1, 2, 3, or 4 by some mathematical calculation. And teachers who receive a 1 and a 2 will not be able to be deemed effective and highly effective, and therefore are not eligible for a pay raise that year. But that's not where the high stakes stop. In addition, the schools are going to get an A to F grade based upon that system. The school systems are going to get an A to F grade. And then our colleges and universities will be getting an A to F grade. Because the teacher evaluation is going to go back to the very first pre-service training that we had. So I told you I had 2 master's degrees. My first one was from Ball State in special education and general education. My second master's degree is from IU. I'm currently a library science, that's what I'm going to be evaluated in, but my evaluation is going to go all the way back to Ball State, who had absolutely nothing to do with my current line of profession. So the higher education community is outraged about that, as rightly so. So that's what got me into the race, was the I-Read 3 test. It's a pass-fail test for little 3rd graders. But voters don't know that in the state of Indiana, the mandatory age for attendance is age 7. 7. We're very far behind the rest of the nation. So when we get little ones in our 1st grade class who have not been to kindergarten and they have not been to preschool, they are already 2 years behind. And now we have to be able to catch, and we put them in kindergarten, rightly so, because they don't even have their basic letters. So there's one retention. When the state of Indiana decided to make a pass-fail test at grade 3, and we haven't been able to catch the youngster up, and many of those youngsters live in great poverty, and they don't always even complete a school year at any given school, so it's very hard sometimes to catch them up when they're so mobile. As a result of that, when they get to 3rd grade, if they haven't passed that test, there's 2 retentions. So when Tony Bennett said he was keeping a list at the state level of students that have been retained and did not pass that test at grade 3, that's the dropout list. That's the dropout list. Students who have been done for 2 times, retained 2 times, will be the dropout list. My other platform issues are charter schools, local control, proliferation of charter schools going on, taking away money from all of us, vouchers, of which I'm totally opposed to. Public dollars should go to public schools. And then takeovers. Takeovers and charter schools now are being run by for-profit schools, taking our tax dollars and making as much profit as they can when they run the schools. So I urge you to go forth and talk about those issues. Those are important issues because they go across party lines. Democrats, Republicans, and Tea Party are voting for me this year. All of them. They have all of those things in common. Thank you very much for